intro, and then I'll turn it over to you, Alex.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Monica. All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening, and for everybody that is here in Zoom with us for our Tech Talk this week. And I know that we've got some people that are going to start watching on Instagram. I'm sorry, I always do that, not Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So anybody that is watching on social media, if you guys have questions, comments for our speaker tonight, please feel free to drop them in the comments section. And of course, for anybody that's here with us in Zoom, if you guys, same thing, have questions or comments, please feel free to drop them in chat. My name is Nikki Caboose. I'm the VP of Development for Palm Beach Tech. And I want to briefly just share my screen so I can show you guys a little bit about our speaker tonight. And also, let me see if I can pull this up, a little bit more about our organization. Let me know if you guys can see the screen. Perfect. Thank you, guys. All right, so first thing, our speaker tonight is Alex Fagard, video producer at Pathos. Our topic tonight is video production in a digital world. So in just a moment, after my little brief intro, I'm going to let Alex introduce himself and tell us a little bit more about the organization and his role there. And real briefly, just for those that are not familiar with our organization, our whole goal and mission is to build South Florida into a tech hub. So we do have a community creed, and basically Palm Beach Tech is wholeheartedly committed to building a welcoming, collaborative, inclusive community for all. We put inclusivity first, engage with others, and are considerate to all, and don't sell to people. So in short, we want to connect all the dots here in our local community, working with the colleges, universities, our students, obviously the headquartered companies that are here, and just helping connect our community. And we want to make sure that that's inclusive of everybody, no matter what their race, culture, color, anything is, and make sure that everybody knows that we are here for them and support of them. These are some of our current members. We currently have 4 different membership levels on the corporate side. So we have local startups all the way to our Office Depots, NextEra, City Furniture. So you can see a few of them here. Next screen. So this is about some of our events. Right now, we're pretty jam-packed with events in a week, so there's more than enough stuff to get involved in. On average, we've got about 4 to 5 events every week, including our peer groups. This tonight, of course, is our Monday night tech talk with networking and then presentation. But we also have podcast Wednesdays, our community coffees, which are panel discussions Tuesday mornings, every Tuesday at 8 a.m. And then we have educational workshops, which are Fridays at 10 a.m. And in addition to that, we do have some differently quarterly or annual events, which I do have to mention this, of course, our hackathon we just announced last week is coming up. That's Friday through Sunday, October 23rd through 25th. Of course, due to COVID, it will be virtual this year, but just as awesome. Our theme this year is Coding for Good. So we're going to be working with some local regional nonprofits. A little bit more about the membership. Obviously, if you go on our website, it's southfloridatech.com. There is a Join Us page there where you can actually compare the different memberships to see which one may be best for you. But some of them, some of the benefits are just access to our member portal, different job listings or resume distribution, speaking opportunities. Again, there's more than enough things to take advantage of, and I'd be happy, myself or Monica, to go through any of those with anybody that may be interested. And last but not least, if you are not familiar with the organization or would like to be added to our Slack channel or to our e-newsletters, which go out every Monday, you can actually just text us at 561-250-7206. Text us your email and we will add you to our e-newsletters. And I'm actually going to turn it over to you, Alex, now, if you want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about the organization and your role. And then whenever you're ready, feel free to share your screen and go right into the presentation.
All right. Yeah. Just make sure I'm not muted. My name is Alex Fagard. I work at Pathos down in West Palm Beach. My role there is basically anything video related, from shooting content for some of our clients to creating motion graphics, 3D, things of that nature. I've been doing this in some shape or form since I was 15, along with other creative endeavors, some of which including web development, things of that nature. And yeah, I went to school in the Netherlands, and when I was there, I sort of started my own business in this field, specializing in corporate videos and motion graphics and all that fun stuff. And I'm looking forward to sort of giving you an idea of what it's like to be in this world and sort of where I see it going. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. There we go. All right. So video-based content is overwhelmingly becoming not only mainstream for every business, but also a necessity. Companies that incorporate video into their marketing mix are seeing greater returns, greater user engagement, especially when considered against the traditional approaches. I want to give you an idea of video production from the perspective of someone that might just be starting out in the industry, or someone who just wants to promote their product or service. I'm going to just begin by briefly outlining some of the methods and tools for creating high quality video in this current landscape, as well as some basic narrative development that you can use. So first things first, I think the most important thing that's currently happening in this industry is that the means of production and delivery are being democratized. So what does that mean? In the past, what we've been seeing is that the tools that were traditionally only available to people at a Hollywood level or people in large scale productions are now being available to the end user. To the consumer, to small companies, small businesses. The technology is rapidly becoming more and more accessible, and new technologies and improved user experiences have empowered those outside the industry to both access and use the tools that, again, traditionally were reserved for larger video production houses. So in terms of video production, some of you might say, well, I've had a camera since the 90s. And while that's true, the camera that you had back then cannot perform as a Hollywood camera can. And that's sort of where we're at now, where I can go and pay $1,000 to $2,000 and get a camera that performs better than some cinema cameras if used in the proper hands. And that's pretty amazing. So in terms of delivering content, that has also been democratized in that we have platforms like YouTube and Vimeo that are empowering anyone with a camera to be able to share content with the ability to reach millions of people at the click of the button. It's pretty amazing. So I'm just going to go into some things that have sort of changed in the industry. So cameras, stabilizers, drones, these are all methods of getting high quality video content. And traditionally, if you looked in the past and you said, oh, I can just fly this little device up in the air and get some cool aerial shots, people would have thought you were crazy. But you'd have to rent a helicopter, spend all this money. Now you can get a drone for $700 or something like that, and you can start a company that films real estate properties. So all of these different companies that I've listed on the side are making it incredibly accessible to get high quality at a lower price. And especially, I would say, the software and the hardware are working together sort of to bring this great user experience for people that might not necessarily be that great or that knowledgeable with these devices. For example, in the photo, you'll see a guy, he's holding a what we call a gimbal. It's something that stabilizes a camera on 3 axes. And it allows you to get smooth dolly shots without having to set up an actual dolly. And traditionally, this was done via an analog system called a glide cam or a steady cam. If any of you watched The Shining, you would probably see one of its first uses in cinema, which was when it was following, I think the character's name was Danny, the kid. He was in like his little cart and driving around the Overlook Hotel, and it was used to get those low shots following him around. And now you don't need a huge clunky tool like that to get this. You can use something as simple as what the guy here is holding, and with very little training, you can create cinematic shots. Additionally, cameras are getting way better at producing high quality video. You have companies like Red, which sort of pioneered digital cinema, and now almost every movie you watch or every Netflix show you watch has some usage of their camera systems, which, yes, are very expensive, but they're just releasing one that's only like 5,000 or 6,000 compared to its usual 80K price range, which is quite amazing. And then, of course, at the lower end, but still equally good in terms of picture quality, you can get cameras like the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, which can provide you some great results. So generally, if you're just looking to get started in this industry, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need a camera, a microphone, a stabilizer, and some form of editing software. For most people, if you're running a small business, I mean, chances are your regular cell phone is going to do just fine. You can get attachments for your tripods and even devices like this man is holding, which is DJI Osmo, which is another example of this gimbal device that you saw the man holding in the previous shot. And again, you probably already know how to use your iPhone to film video. It's just a matter of setting up a few other devices and incorporating some higher quality audio. Editing itself isn't necessarily the most difficult thing, but it does take some practice. Once you sort of get over the mental hurdle of this being an incredibly difficult field to sort of wrap your head around all the individual parts, you can begin just creating things and growing upon your skills. In terms of delivery mediums, like I said, we're not only able to produce things that end up in the cinema anymore. We can go onto YouTube, we can go onto Facebook, we can go onto Vimeo, Instagram, all these different platforms. And naturally, it depends on what kind of delivery, what kind of story you're trying to tell. Perhaps longer form things are better suited for YouTube, more artistic things better suited for Vimeo. Facebook probably is better suited for things like live streaming, which we've seen a lot of at Pathos, especially now with the COVID going on and all these companies wanting to maintain a external presence. So you have greater access to tools and greater access to delivery mediums than you've ever had before. And it's only going to keep getting better and easier for the end user or for a small business to be able to create compelling content. So generally, when we at Pathos are trying to come up with a narrative, we have the equipment now. We have all the stuff necessary to start and create something for our company or whatever. We need to look at, well, what story are we trying to tell? How are we trying to explain what are we trying to do exactly? So you can this framework was sort of brought out by Simon Sinek, and it was, like I said, used heavily here at Pathos. And the core belief here is that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. If you run a web development firm, you might be tempted to simply state, we make custom-built websites. Having a custom-built website separates you from the rest, want to use us. And chances are that's not really compelling or eliciting emotional response. It's not good enough to sort of create video content based on. Instead, you should start with something more like, we believe in making websites more user-friendly. And how are we going to do that? We're going to create enhanced user experiences through beautifully built, minimalistically designed websites using a mobile-first approach. And then you can go about and trying to reach your desired demographic, you know, people you want to use your service, by utilizing any number of mediums you have at your disposal. You might want to create a YouTube series in which you post various tutorials on how to utilize Twitter Bootstrap in WordPress, which can help to establish yourself as an authority on the subject. So when your clients are searching for you or searching for your company online, they can see, oh wow, this guy really knows what he's doing. So that's sort of indirectly bringing clients to you. You might also want to create a bunch of little tidbits you run on Instagram stories that show some do's and don'ts for, I don't know, placing navigation. Maybe psychological tidbits on why you design something a certain way and how it ultimately contributes to an enhanced user experience. So maybe get past clients to do some testimonials, things of that nature. Basically, you want everything you create to revolve around your mission statement, your why, your goals. And you want that to be authentic. You don't want it to be something that's just like, well, to get you to use our service. You want it to be, why are you in this? Why are you doing what you do? What makes you different than others? And then you can use that to create unique video content. So generally, a trend we're seeing is a push towards more interactive video-based content. There are a couple examples I'm going to show you, but ultimately, the goal is to create a narrative and to pull the user into that narrative, to encourage some form of user interaction. And as a result, you can actually generate far more than just garnering their attention. You can actually create a whole world outside of this one thing. So a good example is Bandersnatch by Netflix. I'm not sure if any of you have ever actually played or interacted with this on Netflix, but it's a pretty cool example of what you can do with video if you have the correct resources and time. Basically, the idea behind this was the protagonist was a young programmer, and he adapts a mad scientist writer's fantasy novel into his video game. And throughout the entire video, you are presented with a series of decisions which ultimately change the outcome of your story that you are creating. It's essentially like the choose your own adventure games of your childhood, where you read it in a book typically, but here it is in video format. So in terms of engagement, they saw that I think it was like 94% of the viewers were actively making these choices. And on the left here, you can see what I was explaining earlier, which was that you can create this whole world outside of it simply by creating something that's interesting. People went onto Reddit and various different platforms to try to figure out all the different options and where they ended up in terms of like the end result of the video. And I think it's pretty amazing that you can get people so involved into your narrative that people end up spending hours of their time rewatching something you've made and choosing different things just to come to a different outcome. Another similar thing is Swipe Night by Tinder. The whole idea was nothing that's necessarily new that I showed you. Bandersnatch already sort of did something like this, but the idea was that the world was coming to an end, and the choices you make ultimately determined who you could match with on Tinder. And you had a variety of options, and they actually implemented it in a very interesting way, in which you would either swipe left or right, depending on whether or not you wanted to do a certain action. And the whole thing was very, very well produced. And ultimately, I think Tinder saw very high amounts of user engagement, and not only that, but they saw so much user engagement that they actually decided to do it again recently. Another interesting one that is less involved, because the past items all sort of involve multiple narratives and multiple videos. This one was basically just two different videos happening side by side, in which this was done by Honda, and it was entitled The Other Side, and it was a simultaneous experience in dual realities for one Honda driver. In one reality, he was a carpool dad picking up kids from school, and in the alternate reality, he was a lead-footed getaway driver. And to switch between the realities, you would simply press the R key on your keyboard, which corresponded with the brand of car they were trying to promote, the Honda R Civic, I think, or the Honda Civic Type R. And this is really just an example of two things happening side by side simply by pressing the button. And I think they saw relatively good engagement and user interaction with this. So ultimately, yes, interactive video might be like a pipe dream for small businesses, but it doesn't mean, like I said earlier, you can't incorporate some of the ideas in interactive video into your own your own initiatives. You can simply do this by thinking of ways to include the audience in your narrative. And just for pure, if you're interested, so there are some companies on the bottom there, Wrapped and Happy Act, which actually do these interactive videos, which allow you to enter sort of options within a video player, so it will change to a different sort of node or a different storyline depending on the user's input. Of course, you have to film all this and everything, but it's just a good idea to include that for completeness. And other things you can do is something we do at Pathos, which is sort of these projection mappings, which help create a world different than that which you are usually seeing. I mean, these are basically projectors that are able to determine where objects are in a 3D space and map different designs, motion graphics onto those objects. It sort of became really popular around 2000 and I would say 10, but it's definitely a cool way to make an environment different and interesting. So overall, I just wanted to introduce you to a variety of different things and encourage you to sort of realize that there are many ways to engage users, consumers, and video has really become one of those ways that companies are using to get a greater amount of engagement. And ultimately, I think that using video for your business can definitely help impact your bottom line. And I just wanted to leave it open for questions regarding, I know that I think Ashley said earlier, she was like sort of asking how to get the cinematic look and all these different things. I'm just opening it up for questions. So I'm gonna stop sharing the screen.
Alex, so we do have in chat a question there. There's actually one in chat and then another one in private chat. Is what software do you use to make motion graphic videos? Is the first one.
So to make motion graphic videos, I primarily use Adobe After Effects. many people find it very difficult to use initially, because it has a lot of features in it, and those features can be, it's one of those things where you sort of just have to learn as you go. And there are plenty of great tutorials online. People who make tutorials, one of them is Andrew Kramer, a video co-pilot. But yeah.
That's really cool. I've been using that software since 2008.
Yeah.
I know. I've been looking at his videos. I made my own, and
You were looking at Kramer's videos. Andrew Kramer's video?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, he's like one of the top dogs in the industry.
Yeah, I've learned how to do motion. I've also learned from him how to use motion tracking, layering, positing. So cool. I
Yeah.
even made my own personal videos on my personal channel and my professional channel as well.
Oh, that's definitely cool. I mean, I know personally one of my favorite things is motion tracking and 3D tracking, because it's very interesting to be able to put something that is, especially if you're going for a more artistic thing, something into a real environment that's moving. Oh, cool. You left a little YouTube link. I'll check it out.
Sure.
Thank you. And actually, and thank you for that question too, James. There was another question in private chat that was asking, it was a longer question. I think basically summarizing it was, so you see all these like fancy videos and things that companies have on their different social media platforms or website, but how does a company get started if they don't know anything about video? Like, where do you start? And what is the easiest way to make a video without doing all the fancy stuff if you can't do it? I think was kind of what the question is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know I sort of wanted to give more of a holistic idea of like the field as I see it, but I know definitely like focusing on the more basic stuff is helpful. So if I was a company right now, I knew nothing about video production, probably the first thing I would do would be to just basically learn the elements of a camera. So I try to understand things like exposure, ISO, shutter speed. At the very basic, that's the foundational aspect of video and photography. And once you know that, you can sort of get into more advanced things. But you can also just go ahead and grab your smartphone, go to Best Buy and get like $100 DJI Osmo, put your smartphone on that, and you got a stabilized camera that you can do plenty of things with. If you attach something like a basic lavalier microphone you can buy on Amazon for less than $50, you've already got better audio than a lot of videos I see on YouTube and Instagram and stuff. And then it's just a matter of taking those files, bringing them into your computer, using some editing software. If you can, go for Adobe Premiere. It's nice to use, but if not, any free video editing program will help you get started in just basic cutting together the clips you've created. And then you can go, there's plenty of resources online for free music, things like that. Layer it in, see what works, see what doesn't. I'm not a professional editor by any means, or a Hollywood editor by any means, but that doesn't mean that, you know, it's such a process trying to generate a narrative while editing, which is great, which is why it's a good idea to try to have an idea before you start of what you want to really do. Oh, what do you think of freeware OBS? OBS is really good for like live streaming. I know we were doing a couple of Facebook Lives for one of our clients, and I was actually considering using OBS, but instead went for a different program. But I don't think I would use OBS for video editing. I'd probably use Sony Vegas of some flavor of Sony Vegas. They're pretty cheap programs, and that's actually what I started out on before moving into Premiere.
Good. I think, yeah, I think you got that question in chat. There was one more that came to the private chat, was just how do you change up the video that's used depending on whether you're providing a product or service? I know that just recently in another discussion, we kind of had the same question come up, is because obviously in tech, there's a lot of people that are selling a product, but a lot of people are selling services. So how could you still use video when you're selling a product, or I'm sorry, selling a service versus a product?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was one part I might have brushed over a bit, but I was sort of discussing, which was that you got to first start with like what narrative you wanna tell to your clients. Like, if you have a service, you have something that's intangible, and you want people to sort of be able to see that you care about what you're doing, and that's what separates you from the rest. Not that other people don't care, but you have some sort of unique selling point that others don't have. And if you can incorporate that in your videos somehow, I think you are already ahead of the game. So like I was giving an example, because I know most of you are in web development in some shape or form. The example I was giving was that you can say you want to create and build beautiful websites that provide unmatched user experience. You could go ahead and you could get clients to speak on that behalf and say, hey, before we had difficulties. People were unable to properly, see what we had to offer, and engagement was at a low point. And then after we had them redo our website, it was, just beautiful. We saw analytics go up. So really just use your clients as a basis for helping you create this content. And that's why it's a good thing to have a relationship with your clients. And I would probably go the testimonial approach, but you could also go through other avenues where, like I said, you're just trying to show you're an authority on the subject. Create videos of, I know I personally, whenever I'm on YouTube or something and I see someone that really has a handle on a subject I'm trying to learn, I'd be like, damn, I wish that person was in my area, because I'd hire him to do this or that. So it's one of those things where helping your community can also help yourself in a way.
No, I agree with you. And I think that's a really good point, is that you may be highlighting, like you were saying, the clients and maybe their products or services, but in turn by what you've been able to do with them. Because obviously you don't have something to show, but you have your clients to show. So that's a good point. We are actually right at time right now. So I just want to say, for anybody that is watching on social or here in Zoom with us, we will be sending a follow-up email. So Alex or Ann, anybody of you guys at Pathos that has either your presentation or website link or anything you want us to get out to anybody that's RSVP'd, we will be sending a follow-up email out so that you guys can get that information to them. Of course, anybody in here that's got additional questions. But yeah, just wanted to say thank you to all you guys. Of course, thank you, Alex, and the rest of the Pathos team for coming tonight. And I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.